very first episode of this semester. I'm very excited today to talk about effective speaking in spontaneous situations. Have you ever encountered situations like your professor looks at some students and says, "What do you think?" And there was a lot of panic and a lot of silence. So as a result of that, this episode was created. Today we are going to talk about little things in terms of your approach, your attitude, your practice that can change how you feel when you speak in public. So our agenda is simple. In order to be an effective communicator, regardless of it's planned or spontaneous, you need to have your anxiety under control. So let's get started with anxiety management. The first has to do with when you begin to feel those anxiety symptoms. For most people, this happens in the initial minutes to speaking. In this situation, what happens is many of us begin to feel whatever it is that happens to you. Maybe your stomach gets a little gurgly. Maybe your legs begin to shake. Maybe you begin to perspire. And then we start to say to ourselves, "Oh my God, I'm nervous. Oh, they're gonna tell I'm nervous. This is not gonna go well." And we start spiraling out of control. Research on mindful attention tells us that if we begin to feel those anxiety, we simply grate our anxiety and say, "Hey, this is me feeling nervous. I'm about to do something of consequence." And simply by grating your anxiety and acknowledging it, that's simple and natural. You actually can stem the tide of that anxiety spiraling out of control. It's not necessarily going to reduce the anxiety, but it will stop it from spinning out. So the next time you begin to feel those anxiety signs, take a deep breath and say, "This is me feeling anxious." Most of us, when we are presenting, planned or spontaneous, we feel that we have to do it right, and we feel like we are performing. So when you perform, you know there are certain right way or wrong way to do it. If you don't hit your right line in the right time, you have made a mistake. So we need to look at presenting as something other than performance. And what I like to suggest is what we need to see this as a conversation. Like right now, I'm having a conversation with 30 people in this course. Rather than saying I'm performing for you or recording a podcast. But it's not enough just to say this is a conversation. I want to give you some concrete things you can do. Most of us, when we present, are worried about the future consequences. Many students are worried about they are not going to get the right grade. Some speakers are worried they might not get the funding. The others might not get the laughs or support they want. All of those are future states. If you can bring yourself into present moment, rather than being worried about the future consequences, you can actually be less nervous. So if we bring ourselves into the present mode, we are not going to be as concerned about those future states, and therefore we will be less nervous. There are lots of ways to become present-oriented. The very first thing that gets in people's way when it comes to spontaneous speaking is themselves. We get in our own way. We want to be perfect. We want to give the right answer. We want our toast to be incredibly memorable. These things are burdened by our effort, by our trying. Rather than striving for greatness, dare to be door. And if you dare to be door and allow yourself that, you will reach the greatness. It's when you set the greatness as your target, and that's getting the way you're getting there. because you over-evaluate, you overanalyze, you freeze up. Getting out of our own way is important. The second step of the process has us change how we see situations we found ourselves in. We need to see the speaking opportunity as a real opportunity rather than a challenge or threat. So when you are at a corporate dinner and your boss turns to you and say, "Oh, you know him better than the rest. Would you mind introducing him?" You say, "Great, thank you for your opportunity," rather than thinking, "I better get this right," and being panic. When you reframe the spontaneous speaking opportunity as something that you could create and share, all of a sudden you are less nervous, less defensive, and you can accomplish something pretty good. In this case, a fine outcome.